intent of, hi everyone. It's really good to see you all and your beautiful smiley faces. So help me. I mean, the histories I can share, but in a quick and dirty version. But I would love to make sure what I share with you is relevant. So what do you want to do as a group? Are you still forming that up, or is it just communication across the state of Minnesota so that everyone understands what resources are available? And is that what you're trying to do? Collaborate and coordinate? And to what end? For farmers to get land, for markets to expand, for emerging growers to be able to have access, all of the above? Or have you guys sort of defined what it is that you want to do?
So Cheryl, this is Jane Jewett, and I can jump in a little bit on that. So the group that's been meeting and hearing this discussions came out of the local food resiliency teams that have been convened by Teresa Kevaney from the Sustainable Farming Association since last spring of 2020. And originally it was COVID response in the local food systems. And then since that got kind of handled, it's morphed a little bit into what do we need to do as this team with a bunch of different subgroups to make the whole landscape in Minnesota more hospitable to local food systems. How do we get the funding and the infrastructure needed to advance local and regional food systems? And so that's where this discussion has been, looking at those ARPA dollars that are coming in, application deadline coming up October 19th, I think. A lot of interest in infrastructure to support local food. Meat processing is a whole other group that's meeting regularly and making progress on that front, but things like cold storage systems or other infrastructure in communities that could support, processing facilities, those kinds of things. So that's where this discussion has been so far, and how would people in that local food system realm be able to effectively tap into economic development work?
Okay, there's a lot to unpack there. So I'm just unpacking it real fast, okay? And my brain usually works at the speed of an auctioneer, but there's just so much there. So first of all, I don't know as though, yes, that one deadline, October 19th, I know that the West Central Initiative Foundation is working on a Build Back Better proposal, potentially for around the ag sector, around farming. That might be a way to access some of those dollars, but without a really good plan in terms of who's doing what and how you're going to access dollars, that application is coming up too soon for this sort of a broad approach. You're probably looking at something else. If what you're really wanting to do is to make sure that the local foods economy and that the ag economy is interwoven with economic development, particularly as a result of not only this current ARPA dollars, but the reappropriation that I understand will happen according to the Deputy Secretary of EDA for the next round, which will be a lot more dollars. And EDA has traditionally not understood ag at all. They don't get it, and because that's been a USDA sort of world. And so there's some hurdles and barriers to get through even that, which will take a lot of coordination. If what you're trying to do is to make sure that there's a relationship between economic development practitioners and local food hubs and systems, I'm not sure that's not already being done. Maybe not with the knowledge of all the folks that you think need to know, but I'm not sure that's not already being done in some levels. I know that in the past, years ago, Arlene went out and met with all of the food hub directors who are now almost gone, because that leadership changes amongst the food hubs just like it does in any other kinds of organizations. So they stopped coordinating and talking to each other, the food hubs across the nation. We did that and paid Sprout to do that for about a year and a half, a long time ago. And so there is an acknowledgement for some economic development practitioners that the ag economy is an economic engine and leads to some rural prosperity, which is what economic development folks are going to be done. But there's obviously some economic development folks who would rather focus on housing or childcare or medical manufacturing or other, right, economic engines as well. And so a coordinating group that makes sure that, one, the food hubs are talking to each other and that economic development practitioners are talking to food hubs as an opportunity to advance that industry is an effort in and of itself, outside of the infrastructure, outside of the supply chains, outside of expanding markets. That's a body of work that could be funded through an EDA sort of planning grant opportunity, not a non-construction application, that says that you're going to coordinate an economic engine, an industry cluster across the state of Minnesota. Somebody else take notes, because I ain't gonna remember half this shit that I'm gonna say, okay? But that's body of work that could be done by an entity, lead organization, who's going to fiscally administer it, who's going to coordinate, and who are the members. That's in and of itself work, right? Simultaneously, there's work to be done not only to educate the economic development practitioners, but that's a two-way street. A lot of folks in local food don't understand how they fit into the overall rural economy that work within the ag sector. When you do nursing, sometimes you have a tendency to think that's the most important thing in the world. When you're building houses, that's the most important thing in the world. When you're a teacher, by God, that's the most important thing in the world. And by the way, when you're a farmer, sometimes you think that's the most important thing in the world. And they don't understand that they're all systems that intertwine with each other. And that's where there's some education to be done, and that coordination from a group could also go the other way on this street, is educating the ag economy, farmers, growers, suppliers, manufacturers on their role in that economy as well. So I think right now, to answer Jane's question, the very first thing to do is to get a hold of West Central Initiative, Greg Wagner, and find out how you guys can be a role, potentially write your group in as a entity that would do that work. Unless you're a group that's going to be great, like I love Happy Dancing Turtle, they're ideators, they're great friends of ours, but they don't want to do, they want to ideate. And that's why I'm asking you guys to consider, what is your role? What do you want to do? Do you want to ideate about what should happen, or do you want to actually do it? And there's nothing wrong with people not wanting to do the work, but you better have an idea of who might, right? So there's that. I'm working with Minnesota Farmers Union right now on an application for a mobile slaughtering unit. We have our matches confirmed. We're deep and steep into that NOFA. That'll be a multi-million-dollar application. It is likely that I will go after some other dollars if they're funded through appropriation for all of northern Minnesota. It will impact the ag economy in the space of, it's called Rural Partnership Program, where we will be building capacity of local food systems to measure differently and to think about what they're measuring. So there will be some economic development work that is steeped into the kind of models, value chains, as Fallon referred to them, that we're trying to develop. So that's an application that we will actually also go after. We may look at trying to fund some land accessibility for emerging farmers and some other variety of things in partnership with the Minnesota Department of Ag as well. That'll be a multi-million-dollar application. So I'm not sure that economic development doesn't know that this is an important space. James, you're from Southern Minnesota, correct? So I love Pam and Tim, and there you go. And brothers and sisters down there, I have given them a lot of crap in the past about Feast, because Tim is great at going to the Department of Ag and saying, give me some money for a conference. And he does a conference and you guys are dating and dating and dating and dating, and no one's getting freaking married. So when the pounds are actually delivered and you actually have relationships that turn into children, now you are talking about future prosperity. But the dating through more conferences, if that's what you guys are looking to continue to do, you better think about next steps, because it's time to get food into the places and have economies change as a result of that. We got to stop just talking about it. So all of those things are happening, plus a whole lot more. And I would love to be able to make sure that as I continue my work, I understand the role that you guys want to play. What can you do? I'm tired of talking, so you have to be tired of listening to me.
And I'm not going to answer that. I'm going to have Fallon and Ariel and Laura and James jump in here.
Well, so I'm in AmeriCorps at Southern Minnesota Initiative Foundation, and my focus is on local food. So you break my heart about Feast a little bit, but I'm not married to Feast either. That's not my thing anyway. So anyway, one of my biggest confusions about the conversations that we've been having with ARPA is I'm confused about who is going to get the money. How do you apply to the money, or who do you talk to encourage them to spend the money in different places? So this, and correct me if I'm wrong, and Cheryl, you're from Region 5 Regional Development. Okay. So there's an application for economic development grants coming up, right? And you apply to the federal EDA, correct? Okay, for this October deadline, and that's competitive grants. But then too, and this is something that Sarah Goldman from LSP, Laura's colleague, mentioned at a previous meeting, is that counties are getting this money. Counties are getting a big influx of money, right? And I think, and Laura, please speak up if you want to talk about that. But I think we recognize that those competitive grants right now it's very last minute, but we see opportunity with the counties.
Yeah. They all did get money. So the county money came through the first branch of EDA. There's $3.5 trillion in one blush. Then there was another blush, and there's a third blush coming. And so there's a lot of rounds. So there are a lot. Yes, the counties and townships and cities all got dollars, right? All of the local units of the government got dollars. Getting in front of them and their county commissioners to say, what are your priorities? And it would be great if you would consider these areas, but have ideas and partners that are willing to run through those ideas, because they don't want you to come to them and waste their time and say, you should support local foods and the ag economy. Like, what do you want to fund? And that's great. That's an option. And we have secured, I think, $500,000 in my region from just the counties for local foods. None of it, by the way, touches Sprout. So it's bigger than just even the food hub, right? So there's that. There's also, so yes, go there, talk to your county administrators, ask them. Laura.
Yeah, question on, because that's what I don't know, I'm thinking for role and everything, I think more at the county level would make sense of spending time and effort there. Wondering, so who decides like what applications get approved? Is it the county level EDA? I know Emily had mentioned there's some, I can't remember the name, that says underneath city council, but like, how does that relationship?
Every county does it different. Unfortunately. So get a hold of one county commissioner and ask them what is the process, right? And so in some counties, the commissioners, the county commissioners are going to review applications that come through the county administrator. So in some cases, the county administrator is collecting it. Sometimes they pawn that off to their economic development organization and said, you do this. In some regions, they're pawning it off to the RDC, like, you deal with this, right? We've got these 3 priorities: broadband, local foods, housing, childcare, right? And we want applications like this. I've created requests for proposals for counties in my region. So they're accepting applications through a county website, right? So every county is different in that space, unfortunately, and that was their right to do that. Some small counties aren't doing a competitive process at all. They are able to legally use those monies to backfill their own budgets, and they are. So you have to ask each one of them what they're going to do. I have 2 counties that are small enough, they're only getting $2 million each. They're not putting them into competitive projects in the community. And they don't have to. So there's that. And then, yes, there are EDA dollars. There are timelines. You guys, we had 3 NOFAs in the past. We have 7 now. There are, you know what a NOFA is, Notice of Funds Available, right? There are one for Indigenous communities, which there's 0 match if it's an Indigenous community project. There are ones for tourism. There are an application specific to public works, non-construction, like planning, specific to construction. There's a lot, right? There are more applications now than there have ever been in my 15, 16 plus years doing this work. So I've read them all. I know it, so talk to your economic development folks if you have an idea. The best thing I can tell you is come up with a project or a program that you think that is good, and then go talk to your RDC. They should have read these NOFAs as well, and ask them which one fits rather than you guys trying to figure it out. Start with what your project and program is, and then ask somebody else to help you figure out what program it fits. It's not you guys that has to do that. Secondly, that's just EDA. USDA is coming up with a lot of money as well, which has been very favorable, obviously, to local foods. There will be more money in LFPP and FMPP and RCDI and VAP